Hey Internet's RJ, welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And despite, a major election trying to take over the entire news cycle, we still have some gems to talk about of interest. So we have Navy Federal Credit Union getting on the CFPB's bad side. We have Citi filing a trademark, meaning they could be getting into the airport lounge game. I have thoughts. And of course, we have the future of U.S. Bank. We're expecting the Smartly card to come out this week. I'm excited. Plus, we're also expecting the retirement of a legend in the Altitude Reserve. So we'll talk about what that could mean for the bank going forward. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, I feel like for the veterans of the show, we should put out a call out and see if our guy Red Sox Nation is okay. Because I imagine he's just going harder than J.R. Smith did when the Cavaliers won the finals in 2016, where even Obama had to call him up, tell him to put his shirt back on after 4 days. So we should just put that out there for our guy if anyone's seen him. But with that note aside, we should get into the news here for real. So we start out with the CFPB. They are finding Navy Federal Credit Union quite a bit of money for some overdraft fee issues that they've had. So we'll pull up their direct blog post. That I don't know if they call it a blog, but their press release, that's probably the way they would describe it, real journalism, right? And see what they did and what they're going to have to do to make it right. So $95 million on the table here in penalties for Navy Federal Credit Union. This is probably a lot of money for a credit union. So what did they do? They have a service called Optional Overdraft Protection Service, known as OPS. Whatever. Everyone loves abbreviations. And they were charging consumers $20 for most overdraft transactions. The credit union collected nearly $1 billion in overdraft fees from 2017 to 2021. So what did the CFPB find? We're going just to the bullet-pointed stuff. They found that Navy Federal violated the Consumer Financial Protection Act through charging illegal surprise overdraft fees on purchases made with sufficient funds. Navy Federal charged fees to consumers whose accounts showed sufficient funds when making purchases, only to charge fees when the transaction was later processed. Charging overdraft fees caused by delayed peer-to-peer payments with undisclosed processing times. So basically, you're using something like Zelle saying, hey, it was taking too long to process, and then yes, you could end up out of balance then. So the enforcement action here, what are they going to do? CFPB orders, they're going to obtain more than $80 million in consumer redress. Navy Federal must refund overdraft fees improperly charged. Seems fair. Bans Navy Federal from charging certain overdraft fees altogether. The credit union can no longer charge overdraft fees resulting from insufficient funds at the time of processing, despite sufficient funds. Makes sense. And it requires Navy Federal to pay $15 million fine. So Navy Federal will pay $15 million civil penalty. So you add up both of those. That's how you get your $95 million, $80 million going back to the customers, and a $15 million fine. There you have it. If you were affected by this, let us know down below how that's going for you. Of course, we hope no one on here is. We don't have a ton of credit union fans here, but Navy Fed is one of the bigger ones and more popular ones. So there you have it. Now, what also is very big and popular is Citibank, depending on the time of day. And what's even more popular is airport lounges. As we know, the war on airport lounges seems like almost the last frontier of credit card companies are going to fight on. And Citibank may be entering the fray with this trademark patent that we found. I mean someone else found on the internet, and we just took it. But here we have it. This was found, and it is actually Strata Lounge is the trademark. I always mess that up. I say patent or trademark, and someone gets mad at me down below. So you can see here Strata Lounge. You can go through it and definitely see Citi filed it. It was pretty recent. Status date October 22nd, so fairly recent. So shout out to whoever keeps their eye on these type of things, looking them up. But again, Strata Lounge. If you go down in the description, it does talk about airport lounge and services. So it does line up with potentially being an airport lounge. Strata, again, as we all know far too well, lines up with their new line of credit cards, even though it's not really new. It's just the Citi Premier became the Strata Premier. We're still owed, we largely believe, the Strata Elite, and this would probably play hand in hand with that. So yes, they're entering the airport lounge. I think airport lounge game. This is it's interesting. There's a long time I've said I don't see Citi really as travel, even though the Citi Premier and the Strata Premier is a very good card. And now that they've fixed a lot of their insurance issues, I think I still stand by that. It's a really good card. So we also wonder what are they going to do with the big dog, which I predict will come out almost a year from when the Strata Premier came out. So that way you have a way to at least easily product change people without paying them a promotional offer, or maybe you give them a small something and you get you basically 2 years of new cycle coverage. So I mean, it would definitely be, obviously you probably have to have that card to get in, I would imagine, but just filing the trademark now means we're probably looking at, I would guess, a year or two before you even see a Citi Strata Lounge, if they even are actually doing this, because when you've got to secure an airport, the space, the build out, all of that, figure out how to run it, unless you're just kind of going to go through priority pass like Chase did with theirs via the club. So I still think we're probably a good ways away from seeing Citi opening their first lounge, but they could be set. They're obviously, you got to start somewhere. So be setting the stage, and we've always wondered, what is the Strata Elite going to do differently? Would it mirror the Citi Prestige exactly? Which wouldn't have been bad, because that fourth night free perk was like a legend, especially in the OG Strata or OG card when it went back when it wasn't capped. So I don't know what you want to see in a Citi Lounge. It's one of those things where like every city screws up a lot of stuff, and every so often they get it right. They've rebuilt their travel portal, which seems decent. We know we've reorged their thank you points to be transferable and all 1 cent per point between the cards. So am I cautiously optimistic? Like, yes, I'm cautiously optimistic that Citi is going to potentially do this good. I'd say their lounge probably fits somewhere on par with a Venture or a Capital One and Chase Lounge. I still don't think anyone's punching up to Centurion or like the Delta One lounges that we've seen images of things like that, but I do think it would at minimum have to be on par with that. Citi tends to court a higher tier clientele on their higher side, so you might see it a little bit nicer. But overall, let me know what you want out of a Citi Lounge. I think we're a ways away, but it is interesting nonetheless. Now, something we're not years away from, but hopefully mere days away from, is U.S. Bank's new credit card, the Smartly Rewards. My U.S. Bank folks tell me that this is coming out Tuesday. Why? Because Monday is a banking holiday. So, you can still call them, but you wouldn't really launch a new product on a Monday, I wouldn't think. So Tuesday is the day, and, I will be calling up. My plan is to make the product change my Cash Plus into a Smartly card. I have videos planned for this, don't you worry, and like how the product combinations work. And then, of course, once I fully get in, get the card, then we'll do one on me, converting over fully. So, or getting it fully. I'm not leaving Bank of America per se. But anyhow, that's Tuesday, which is very exciting. 4% card, so I'm jazzed. But easy come, easy go, because the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve card is on its way out. So much so that my U.S. Bank people tell me tonight, if you're watching this on Sunday, like that's the last day you can apply for it. So if you want it, I get nothing for it. I don't have a link for it, but what I'm hearing is Sunday night is it, and it's going to go away. So why? What's going to replace it? Well, I don't know. I know that we give credit to the Credit Frog, who I know him personally is a good guy, who he had it last week. This is one of those things like I had heard, but I wasn't 100% sure on. But now people are telling me like that's what's going to happen. So you might as well grab it while you can if you want to. Me, I would do it if I wasn't trying to cool down from like those 20-something applications I've already did. So it begs the question, one, why, and two, what will replace it? We have no idea, so let's just speculate for the fun of it, right? So I think removing of the Altitude Reserve leaves a massive hole in their lineup for sure, because the Connect is a decent card, but they've gone through and they've refreshed some. You could say refresh / nerf, depending on how you feel about those cards and their changes. But it leaves a large travel gap and a large annual fee gap in their lineup. So I do believe we'll see it at some point. At some point, much similar to Citi we just talked about, that they bring it back maybe under a different. They probably keep the Altitude name perhaps, but then they bring it back in some way. So my theory potentially is that you're going after this big Smartly push, right? Their products have been called Smartly, I think, for a while, but you're looking to bring in a lot of money in-house, right? Myself, I transferred $100,000 over there from Bank of America through IRA, just split it down with an ACATS transfer. That's what a lot of people are going to do, but you're focusing right now on the program, getting the money in-house, and you assume you're going to get a lot of interest in this product. I would imagine you want to, so you can get the money, which means we're probably focusing on Smartly right now. And so how that goes probably depends on what they do next, right? Does it bring in a lot of money that they're projecting? We have no idea what they're projecting, what their targets or what their hope is, but I would assume it's a ton of money, like all the money, right? So can you do that? How does it go? How does paying out at that 4% tier go for us? We don't know. US Bank, again, they're top 5 bank, but they're kind of like, they're not really as aggressive as everyone else. So we got to figure out how that works. And then once I figure out how that works, then maybe I can see what do I want to do. Do I want to finally do what everyone wants, which is unite all the credit cards under one banner, under the Altitude banner, being the Altitude Go, make the Cash Plus earn Altitude points, make the Smartly points as well, and then you can all dump them to the reserve. They've played around with that. You can't, you can transfer, was it one of the Connect cards, you could move points to that one. You just couldn't move them to the reserve, which is what everyone wanted. So they've been experimenting and playing around, so I think you probably see how this goes and figure out what that cost actually is. How are people interacting with our new, for the time being, flagship card, I would guess, which is weird because it's only a base 2% card, but probably becomes the flagship in place of the Altitude Go. I don't think it falls to the Altitude Connect by any means. So they see how it goes, and then do I bring it back? And then what capacity do I bring it back? I don't think it'll come in at $395 anymore because the landscape has changed and credit cards are, $500 is like the minimum. So you're probably looking at a more expensive card. What does that mean benefits wise? It's a Visa Infinite. That'll probably remain the same. So you're still probably talking the travel credit, CDW, the things people like, bolster the lounge access perhaps. But the biggest thing was, as they're playing around with the Smartly ecosystem, how far out do I want to go? Because another thing, as we talked about Bank of America, their preferred rewards extends to all the products and all of their core cards, right? Not the co-branded Alaska stuff, but the customized cash, the unlimited, even the Susan G, right? Do I want to do that, extend Smartly to those? And how would that affect that? Maybe what you do is you bring back the Altitude and you make it a benefit of being in Smartly program, how many points you can transfer over to the Altitude Reserves reincarnation, right? Something like that. So you're still encouraging people to bring in more money and move up the tiers, because the tiers will need bolstering. The 4X card is fun right now, but for the average person, you look across and you probably get more at Bank of America if you want to just use one bank, because it goes through all their products just about versus just a credit card. So I think US Bank is onto something here. They're starting with the more popular card, and we know more popular product, and we know cards are more popular because, again, there's a channel dedicated to credit cards and we have a channel dedicated to bank promotions, which is deposit accounts. We don't do too many brokerage accounts. We don't do too many wealth management offers because there aren't any, because we know the popular product. So they're starting with the popular product, being the credit card. And so I think the future of the Smartly card will get, or the Altitude Reserve will fit into Smartly. I think Smartly's the tiers are the way they could unlock transferring and pooling points. Helps US Bank, helps the customer, gives them more of a reason to, and gives them something else that Bank of America doesn't have, which is a trifecta type setup, if you will. Gives them potentially a more powerful one than Chase has, a more affordable one than American Express has, and a more potentially accessible one than Capital One has, where they have 2 cards, but it's hard to get Capital One. It's hard to get US Bank cards, but not as hard as it is to get Capital One cards. So that's my prediction about literally going item by item. I don't think the Altitude Reserve will be that much different. I think it's more so how do I bring it back into Smartly. Now, you didn't have to kill it right this minute, but that's what they decided to do. But maybe you just don't want to split your resources through another product. We just won't know. So that's my long prediction, or the way I think they could go. But a lot of it's going to depend on how Smartly goes, which, again, I'm all for it. I'm super pumped for Tuesday. I will be on the phone at 9 a.m. with US Bank trying to product change my Cash Plus card. More videos to come. I'm pumped. So anyhow, that's been the news. We rambled a lot for just 3 stories, but hopefully it's entertaining. Let me know your thoughts down below on US Bank. Are you going to make a last minute dash for the Altitude Reserve card? And again, if I end up being wrong, don't yell at me, just tell me what I'm hearing. But this is a trusted source who's come through many a time with solid information, so I feel safe reporting on it now. So anyhow, let me know down below what you're going to do, how you're going to play US Bank, and what you want to see from the Citi Lounge. Of course, if you liked all of this or any of it, or just none of it but want to be nice, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel, as we're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, we're right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on ProfitfulContent.com. The channel's blog is always linked down below for you. We not only post the latest news stories, we have bank promotions. I know we have some from US Bank, and we've covered Citi a few times, so Speaking of the devil, you might as well get started on Smartly while you can, and Citi if you want. And of course, credit card offers, nothing from US Bank, but we do have Chase, American Express, the blue chips, if you will. So anyways, guys, that'll do it for this one. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.